Welcome to Great Source Code. So in this video we will discuss about AWS Lambda basics. What is AWS Lambda and how we can create Lambda function, how we can do the code changes on it, and how we can test the application. Okay, so let's get started. So before that I will explain some basic concept of AWS Lambda. AWS Lambda is a service which compute our code without any server. So we can execute our code inside the AWS Lambda without any server. That's why we can call as a serverless. So what is serverless? Before that, initially what we are doing, first we build our code, then after building we need some server to deploy our code on that server, then we have to run our application. But here we don't have to think about server or managing how we have to manage the server. All this stuff we don't have to think in AWS Lambda. We just have to put our code on Lambda and it will get executed. Okay, so how AWS Lambda works. So in this diagram I will going to explain how AWS Lambda works. So it's divided into 5 steps. In first step we just have to write our source code, and important thing that AWS Lambda functions support Node.js, Java, Python, C#, and Go, as well as it support Ruby also, which I haven't mentioned here. So after uploading our source code to AWS Lambda, there are different trigger point is mentioned here. Like if suppose if our code in production, we are not going to manually go AWS Lambda function and test our application or execute our application. That's why these are the trigger point which we use to trigger our AWS Lambda, like S3, API Gateway, SNS, Kinesis, CloudForm. There are different services are there which we can use to trigger our AWS Lambda. So third step, whatever some configuration is required, we can do inside that third step. And fourth step, all the computational work is happen in first step. And after that, what are the charges of AWS Lambda? So whenever we execute our AWS Lambda function, at that time AWS will charge some amount from us. Like it's basically charges which depend on execution and load of that executions. Okay, after that how to create AWS Lambda. So first of all you have to go to the console, and in console you have to search for Lambda. And after that let me show you all these steps in video so you will understand better way. Okay, so let's get started. So first in this video I will explain how it will work AWS Lambda. So let's get started. First we have to click on create functions. Then after, there are 3 steps is given below, but first we will go ahead with author from scratch, and other are blueprints and container images. Using the images we can create our AWS Lambda function, but I will going to explain all this other part in upcoming videos. First, this is the basic concept, then I will not going to make much complicated these steps this video. Okay, so let's get started. First we have to give the function name. So this is my first Lambda video, so I will give first Lambda function. First Lambda function. So function. Okay, fine. So in runtime, as I told you, there are different type of language AWS support. So whatever language is supported, we have to mention that with supported language here. Okay, with versions are given. So by default I will this sample first video, so I will show this simple way. I will select Node.js, and we have to select the architecture, which machine you want. You can select here. Then that 2 steps also there. We are not going, because this is an advanced topic, like roles and roles and what are the permissions. We can create our roles and permission. I will create IAM I videos on IAM, how it work, how we'll create the users, roles and permissions. I will create the separate video for that. And after that there is advanced setting. In advanced setting we can enable the tags, VPC tags, where we can give the our re- information related to our application, as well as VPC. Like if we want to create a secure network for our application, you can do that also. You can enable that. So these advanced topic are there. So let's move ahead to create the function. Sorry. So it will mostly take 30 seconds to 1 minute to create our function based on the network speed, and uh, based on the network speed it will create. Okay, let's wait for some time. So here our first lambda function got created. So I have hide my ARN number, ARN value, because for security purpose I am hiding that. So this is a base a first AWS Lambda functions look like. So here as I selected the Node.js, so I can create here our own project here, my own JS file, and I can execute my code. Okay, so before moving ahead, let me explain what is the handler method. So like in Java, the main method is there to execute our programs. So in Lambda there is handler method. Lambda will handle the this handler method is a start point of our application. Okay, like in Java, main is a start point. Okay, in simpler word. So like in Java, suppose if we want to write our code in Java, and we have, suppose we have to write our code in Java. So for Java we have to write our code, and then we have to upload our jar here, and in as well as we have to provide the runtime, like which method first lambda have to execute. So I will cover all this stuff in upcoming video. I will not going to make this video as a complex. So let's understand in a simpler manner. So here in index.js, like I have mentioned, this is a default code will automatically get generated here, the status code as well as whatever body we have to written, hello from lambda. So how to test that application? For that testing purpose, we have to go to the test in test tab, and we have to test our application. Let's go to the test part. So here we can create our own event, so every time we can use our event to test our application, as well as we can give our input, whatever input we have to give for the application. So here after giving, we can test our application. So after testing, so whatever output is, of our application gets generated, you can see here also. So let me check. So status code is 200 as well as hello from lambda. Also, as well as lambda generate the logs in cloud for CloudWatch. Okay, in CloudWatch, suppose if you have put it some logger in our code, then that logger get automatically printed out inside the CloudWatch. So let me go inside the CloudWatch. So this is the CloudWatch console. So here I have hiding my ARN number of CloudWatch. So like that our CloudWatch will look like. So here as based on the execution, it will create the a different timestamp folder, as well as some encoded values. So click on that, you will find our logger here. If suppose if you have put it some logger here, so you can check your logs inside the CloudWatch. Okay, so yeah, so like that our lambda function will work. So you let go to the cloud lambda function. Okay, so yeah, this is a basic overview of AWS lambda. I hope you find much interested on it. So I will create more video on AWS lambda, as I explained that how to create Java code and deploy on AWS Lambda. So I will create video on that, so you will understand more about that. So I am closing my video for. Thank you all.